This week we install all fittings necessary to put Marina back where she belongs, and once in the water we make a start on the long list of jobs we need to complete so she's ready to take us on adventures once more. Welcome to Free Range Sailing. For those of you that are new here, our boat Marina is a Clansman 30. She's a fiberglass 30-foot masthead sloop built in New South Wales in 1969. We are currently giving her a long overdue refit in Tasmania, with plans to set sail soon for the Australian summer. To support our project and remain notified of all upcoming releases, thanks for subscribing to our channel and hitting the bell button. With splash day only a couple of days away, it was time to reinstall our stern arch onto our new transom cap. For the installation, we used these 6mm stainless steel threaded wood inserts that we epoxied into the transom.
If you haven't come across threaded wood inserts before, this is what they are. So it's 316 stainless steel. It's got a Torx fitting in the top for inserting it, and then it's threaded for a metric 6 machine screw. So instead of these holding the framework down, it's actually that embedded in the wood. So this takes a bit more than a ton to pull out of a jarrah, and it's been epoxied as well. So each one of these little anchors is really quite strong, and it's got a very long section that will pretty much accept this entire, well, it does. It accepts nearly the whole thread of this 30mm machine screw. We've got 14 of these holding that arch down, all of them epoxied in, all of them really firm, and when we put them down, you can use whatever waterproofing you want, but of course we've used butyl tape just because that backwood arch still has, we secure it down quite well, but it's still got just a little bit of movement, so we wanted waterproofing that would be self-healing, and butyl is that thing. With epoxy around the outside, then we shouldn't have to worry too much about corrosion happening in a no oxygen environment, because this will be protected, and then down inside was greased pretty heavily. What it means is it'll be fairly easy to inspect these once a year. Just pull them out and have a look at the screw and just see how things are all going.
Up forward, we discovered that the stainless pulpit was a little out of shape and didn't fit correctly on its new raised mounts. So Troy rigged a 4-to-1 mechanical advantage system with rope to bend it back into shape. Bent the stainless.
What's that?
It moved the stainless. Bent the stainless.
Well, it permanently bent it.
Yeah.
There's no way you could just bend that with your hands. I don't think life on Earth would be possible without rope. I don't know how animals live. Alright, so that's pretty good. That'll fairly line up.
And that should pull down.
It will definitely pull down.
Cool. With the push pit and pulpit sorted, it was time to install our new throttle lever.
I'll come in from the back now.
Okay.
Because your lovely paint job was so good that I couldn't even see where that repair was. So if I come in through the back now, we also won't have where the hole sort of breaks through and destroys the paint on the other side.
Yeah.
And do that.
Hey! That's so awesome.
Isn't it? Look at that.
Look how neat it is.
Really neat.
Awesome.
Okay, so now we need to mark those holes.
Yep. Yeah, that's good. With everything ready for the installation, I coated the exposed plywood around the hole with some unthickened epoxy. In order to get a good gasket with the Fixtech 190 sealant we were using, we made up some spaces out of cut up tongue depressors. We also used the same method to install our stern and bow cleats.
Is it all squeezing out? Yes, it is.
Removing as much sealant from the tape as possible prevents any accidental mess when taking off the masking tape.
Oh, you think I'm being too slow? I'm just trying to be careful.
No, you're right. You've got loads of time till that stuff sets up.
Look at those yoga skills.
Oh, that looks really good. So with that little, when we made that wooden chisel and you scraped it around, see there wasn't a heap of it left on the tape, so it can't bond to itself and pull it off.
Yep.
That's going to be just the perfect. Oh, this is white boat style. We're getting jobs on luxury yachts.
It is so cold. We've gone from 32 degrees to about 12 degrees today. It's freezing. We have put in that throttle lever so we'll be able to give the engine revs and put the engine into gear tomorrow. And we've installed the forward and aft cleats so we'll be able to berth and tie up. We still need to install the tiller, and there's some holes in the stern where our wind steering goes in that we need to put the fittings into. And I think that's all we need to splash. But then we've got a whole lot of work ahead of us to fit everything on. You can see that I applied Fixtech to waterproof the fitting, but we also covered the bolts with lanolin grease. This will prevent any corrosion or galling when we tighten the bolt. If you're wondering why we put Hobart on Marul's stern, it's because that is her current port of registration. After getting home from our last day at the yard, we packed up and filled the car, ready to splash Marul and move back on board the next day.
We've all been there.
At the yard, Troy spliced Marul up some new nylon berthing lines to celebrate the big day.
Reliable steering. Reliable. Oh, it's keeping an eye on that mast. Rigging's not tensioned yet.
No, is it wobbly?
Not really.
It's okay.
We can't go back in the water without thanking Phil and his team at Oyster Cove Marina for being so accommodating for us for the 107 days we were out on the hard.
Oh, look at those disgusting shoes.
Yanmar, under foreign rubbish.
The double lever throttle controller solution didn't work, and I mean the concept was good, but the actual material was rubbish. The installation of that one was quite good. You know, we showed the spaces and all the rest of it of actually putting it in. If you have a look, I actually shot this footage with my phone just so we can show the shop attendants when we take it back to them. But it just turned out that it had no way of increasing the friction on the actual throttle controller that changes the acceleration of the engine. So that was bad. That was something that was only apparent once we put it in, and we were just not happy with the whole construction of the thing, so it's gone. Which meant we had to take it all out and we reinstalled another throttle lever, but we went and got another one which was about 3 times the price. You're just going to have to pay, which was the Ultraflex B400. People often want to know, you know, what we're using. We're not endorsing any particular product, just what we chose. So that's just an all self-contained. It does the gear shift and the accelerator all in one. I liked it because it was quite low profile knob, stands off just a modest distance, and it was all quite, went in quite easily, and it's a smart looking product in the end. This one was quite easy to waterproof, unlike the other ones. So most of that bimetal corrosion would really need salt water in there to act as, you know, a conductive path for electrons and stuff like that. So I can actually get in there at the back and hose it down with Mako oil every now and then as well. So it's pretty good.
With the new throttle lever installed and with lots of rain on the way, the most important on our long list of jobs to complete was to install our new polycarbonate windows.
Keep going.
So we're installing our big windows in the saloon right now. It turns out that these ones, it's quite thin, the glass, but down here it's quite thick, so we're going to have to put much bigger bolts in.
So this layer of goop I'm putting on now, I'm trying to make the height of it twice the spacer. So when we push it down, it'll spread, but I'm trying not to have too much of it spread up to the inside. We mainly want to tool the edge on the outside, and it's easy to clean up. This stuff was designed to be holding polycarbonate in with VHB tape, which is the 3M very high bond tape. You hold it in and then you use this black stuff, and no bolts, it just holds it in there. So the recommendation for under 1/2 metre windows of 3mm doesn't account for bolts to hold it in. It's to have enough material for polycarbonate to flex and not crack and not peel itself off your boat. The fiberglass here, because it's polyester resin, and the polycarbonate, the two expand at similar rates, not the same rate, but similar. So having a 3mm gasket and boring these holes out where the bolts are to go in both of the materials, like we've left a little bit of a wiggle room there, it's enough to handle the differences in expansion of the two materials.
Yep. I can. I'm going to clean them and then I'm going to put the thing on. We didn't fasten the dome nuts holding the windows all the way, just enough to hold the window to the boat against the sealant and firm against the spaces. Leaving the plastic coating on the polycarbonate windows until your fillet is perfect is the best way to avoid a lengthy tidy up when dealing with this stuff. So here it is, our windows are installed. And what we noticed as soon as we installed them is that there was a lot more light in the boat. Our original windows had like a fiberglass cover around them, so they didn't let in as much light. They were also quite scratched. What we've noticed at night time is that we have very little privacy when the light's on. You can see straight into our boat. Another thing as well, when we were installing the windows, when we were putting the machine screws and the dome nuts on them, some of the spots where the window has been cut out, it's cut out not a very neat way. It goes up and it's quite jagged. In some parts of the boat, the fiberglass was very, very thick. So in order for us to get that dome nut on, we really had to get in there with a multi-tool and actually like grind bits of the fiberglass back just to fit it.
I said that we removed the fiberglass from around the windows, but what it actually was some sort of moulding resin, polyester resin putty. We're not sure exactly what it was, but it wasn't fiberglass. It was some sort of polyester resin based product.
So we've ended up with a little bit of a rough look to the window install. Even though it's kind of a cosmetic thing, I thought it was high priority to get some curtains made. I will be putting a coat of paint on that install where those dome nuts are, but it doesn't have priority at the moment because we're trying to get all of the most important things done first that we need to go sailing. Here are the curtains that I sewed up, and I'll talk you through how I made them. But let's just install them and I'll show you the finished product on the window. So that's our finished product. I think they look really beautiful. It was a bit of a learning process. I'm not the best sewer, but tackling something like curtains was something within my reach. My sewing expertise.
Rectangular fabric.
Yeah. Well, there's a little bit more complicated than rectangular fabric, but not much.
I was being deliberately mean. I think they look really beautiful. They look, you know what? They look about 1,000,000 times better than a hole in a boat cut out with a tomahawk.
Yes.
A tomahawk might be a bit too much precision. Maybe it's like a halberd or something like that, you know, like a big pole axe, like a 16-foot pole with an axe on the end. It is so rough. I can't believe that they didn't just have a template and run a router in it. They just got the work experience kid and gave him like, I don't know what they gave him.
So the material that I chose for these curtains was a linen fibre. We wanted to go with a natural material to match the wood trim, and the backing was calico. In order to install these, we actually needed to put this piece of wood trim in, which we screwed in to the top, the existing wood trim up the top. There's a piece of pine in here, so we screwed it into that, which holds this trim, and so we screwed this bit of right angle Tasmanian oak into this. So we actually bought these pieces, these right angle pieces pre-cut in 2.4 metre lengths from the hardware store, and then we measured them out and Troy cut them to shape in the cockpit using the multi-tool and pre-drilled the holes. Once they were installed in place, I sanded them back and gave them a few coats, 3 coats of varnish. Initially I wanted just the curtains to be just of linen, but it was too thin and there was too much light coming through, and also the linen itself doesn't hold together very well, it really frays. So by putting that calico backing, which was quite a sturdy, stable fabric, by putting that as the backing, I was also able to hide the hems and things like that as well by making a square. The squares I just folded over to make the hems to run through. This is just some spring curtain wire. The attachment points are just little eyelets, and then we've screwed in a hook into the spring curtain wire using some lanolin grease, screwed it in, cut it to shape. You have to make sure that it's quite tight, otherwise your curtains will sag, and then put the hook around the eye there as you saw me put them in before. The fixed tech that we use to attach these windows on, you saw that it was the black fixed tech that you need to use for polycarbonate windows. To hide that black line, because it really emphasised that jagged tomahawk look of the window cutouts, to hide that a bit better, we also applied a coat of white fixed tech over the top. We think that the linen and the calico really complement the wood really well, and when we're sitting in the galley and just looking at the curtains, it just feels really homey. We're really happy to sit in the saloon and just look at the windows and the curtains, and we think it frames them really, really nicely.